Forbidden Day is a game created by the evil gods of the universe to pass the time. 20 years ago, this game, known as Forbidden Day, suddenly descended upon Earth, bringing with it immense disasters and opportunities for humanity. Humans on Earth are randomly selected and forced to participate in the game, which is composed of various dungeons with different levels of difficulty and rules. But what they all have in common is that completing dungeons can grant powerful cards capable of changing someone's life. However, losers must pay with their own lives, becoming trapped in the game forever. Everyone thought they could defeat the boss and obtain an S-rank card and, with that, become the grand winner of the game. But in the end, only I survived this cruel game. Before, I thought that as long as I continued exploring dungeons, defeating bosses, and becoming stronger, I would achieve everything I always wanted. But only now did I finally understand the final objective of the game, which is to become one of those gods. However, this is not the ending I truly desire, therefore I refuse to become one of those evil gods. The gods say that Luo Shi is the strongest player of Forbidden Day, the only map-clearing specialist on Earth. They ask if he knows that by becoming a god, Luo Shi can achieve eternal and infinite life. Becoming one of them means obtaining supreme divine power and dominating everything in that universe. So he needs to understand that, on that planet, only the strongest player, he, the sole survivor, possesses this qualification. Thus, they want to confirm whether he is certain that he wishes to give up the qualification to become a god. The MC states that he is certain and that he made the most rational decisions in every dungeon, becoming the only one to clear the game. However, along this path, he lost too much. His mother, his friends, and she, all of them perished in that game. The gods look at him, curious to know what the most powerful player in the game truly wants. Luo Shi answers without thinking twice that he wants his everyday life, peaceful and routine, a world where all the important people in his life live safely. But unfortunately, all of that has already been taken from him by the gods. They order him to look with his own eyes at the planet that holds all those memories being shattered. An attack comes toward the planet, but Luo Shi takes a card in his hand saying there is no need for such tedious threats, and states that he will return, since that S-rank card number 5 possesses a power that not even the gods can comprehend. Therefore, he needs to thank them for creating such good things. He thinks that he was very lucky to keep that card and that, this time, he needs to make up for his regrets and leave everyone in peace. The effect of the card's ability is time reset. All memories will be erased except for the users, and everything that happened will be reset to its original state. Let's try again. A chance to change fate number 5. Even the gods do not believe that Luo Shi managed to receive that card, but they find it interesting and emphasize that they are eager to see him again at the end of the game. The system announces that the card's effect has been activated, reversing time and space. Before going back in time, Luo Shi asks the god to clean his neck well and wait for his return. Until then, he promises that he will go beyond the existence of a god and then destroy the god who touched his family, and he will never again allow a god to destroy everything he loves. He is taken back to the past and wakes up frightened in a bed. He takes a deep breath and looks at his own hands, seeing that he really returned, and apparently he is in Chingcheng Psychiatric Hospital. A woman approaches and asks if he is seeing those bad things again. She comforts him, saying that he does not need to be afraid because his mother is there with him. Upon seeing his mother, he is surprised, thinking that in his previous life, ever since he was dragged into the game, he had never seen her lucid again. The game had imprisoned his mother's consciousness forever, and her body in reality entered a vegetative state. The last time his mother managed to speak to him clearly was many years ago. Overcome by his emotions, he grabs his mother, saying that he missed her very much. Confused, she says that she has always been by his side and thinks that perhaps her son's health condition is worsening again. Luo Shi is a patient admitted to Chingcheng Psychiatric Hospital. Since childhood, he has suffered from a severe dissociative identity disorder. In layman's terms, this is called multiple personality disorder or schizophrenia. There have always been several people talking inside his head, and what he has always wanted to say is that this is absolutely not nonsense, but the people around him never believed him. Because of these illnesses, he is confined to a hospital bed, unable to work or fall in love. Currently, he is 24 years old and is in the critical stage of his illness, but that does not matter, since this kind of ordinary life where everyone is alive is the good life he has longed for day and night. He looks at the clock and sees that there is not much time left. He remembers that Forbidden Day begins exactly at 6 o'clock on February 23rd. This means that he still has 34 minutes to move freely. The game forcibly drags the player's consciousness into the game world. Once inside, if you cannot escape, you will never be able to return to reality. And dying in the game world will also result in a vegetative state known as brain death in real life. The first time a player is inserted into the game world, he will certainly participate in an initial E-rank dungeon. so he needs to record all the clear methods for the game's initial dungeons that he remembers. In the game's initial dungeons, with the exception of the few more troublesome ones, as long as the player knows the hidden rules, completing them is not difficult. With his speed, he can finish writing in 10 minutes, but he needs to write it in a way that even his mother can understand, so that she can remember the guide well and increase her chances of survival. In addition, he also needs to write 2 copies, since Chengzai will be there soon. His mother picks up the trash and says that he can stay there and write. However, the doctor asked him not to strain himself too much. Meanwhile, she will take the trash outside and will return shortly. He looks at the door thinking that he has had this illness since childhood and that his father wanted to abandon him, but his mother insisted on taking him for treatment. After exhausting all the family savings, his father abandoned him and his mother, leaving home alone. Later, his mother raised him alone and, often exhausted after work, still found the strength to teach him how to read and write. The difficulties and bitterness she endured were immeasurable. Only after losing everything did he realize that he had everything from the beginning. Suddenly, Chengzai opens the door and, with a smile on his face, tells the MC that he is there to see him again, and that this time, he brought his favorite oranges. Luo Shi says that it had been quite a while since they last saw each other. Chengzai also becomes confused because he remembers visiting his friend 3 days ago. This boy with a shaved head is the only friend Luo Shi has in his life. They lived in the same community when they were children. Some people heard about the illness Luo Shi had at that time and told their children to stay away from him, and some children began to bully him to prove how brave they were, which was truly unsettling for him. But Chengzai became his friend precisely during that time, stepping in front of the children who were bullying the MC, asking who said that he did not have friends, and stating that he was a friend and that he would not allow them to do that. Even Chengzai, in his previous life, also died tragically in a dungeon while helping the MC clear it. Before dying, Chengzai begged his friend to live and win that cursed game, putting an end to all of it. Luo Shi promises that in this new life he will never allow such a tragedy to happen again. Chengzai asks what the MC is writing and whether it is a novel, since he loves to read. Luo Shi explains that it is a step-by-step guide. His friend asks if the doctor really allowed him to play, since he heard that games could worsen his condition. Luo Shi says that it is a game that needs to be played. Chengzai gets excited, saying that now he understands that this game is a masterpiece that needs to be played, even if everyone tries to stop it. Luo Shi says that is basically it, which is why he wrote most of it there. He asks Chengzai to read it very carefully, and in addition, he needs to find his mother and ask her to read it as well. Chengzai asks if his aunt is also playing this game. The MC asks him not to worry about these things and emphasizes once again that he needs to read it carefully and memorize as much as he can, because it can be of great help in critical moments. Even thinking that Luo Shi is a little strange, Chengzai agrees to read it and leaves the room to deliver the other copy to his aunt. Luo Shi thinks that to protect the important people and defeat the evil gods, his priority is to become the strongest player again. He needs to complete all the dungeons and collect all 15 S-rank cards hidden in the dungeon world. Inside the game, players can obtain various cards from level E to level S by completing dungeons and defeating monsters. There are item cards, special cards, weapon cards, attribute cards, and so on. These cards can grant players various powerful abilities. There are only 15 S-rank cards, each of them unique and containing special powers that not even the evil gods can control. An example of this is that card that reverses time and space that he used to return. These are his opportunities. Only by collecting these cards will he have the power to fight against the gods. With only 1 minute left before the end of the world, his entire life in 60 seconds, one turn of the clock hand to live. He looks at the photo, thinking that in 1 minute this ordinary, everyday life will end. Time runs out and the system appears, congratulating him for being selected by Forbidden Day to be among the first group of players. The dungeon is loading and soul extraction has begun. The generation and injection of scene memories are also beginning. While being taken into the game, Luo Shi thinks that this time he will definitely protect his most precious treasures and clear all the dungeons. He focuses and says to himself, "Become the strongest again and then destroy the damned evil gods who play with the world." The system finishes loading, welcomes him, and asks him to have a great game. The MC enters the game and begins loading the initial scene of the E-rank dungeon of Slaughter Corp. His soul has also been successfully loaded. The system also erased the player's real memories and prepared to inject scene memories. However, another red screen appears saying that the player's real memories were not erased. A few seconds later, the system announces that the dungeon boss is being generated and that now he can explore the dungeon freely. Luo Shi thinks that everything is exactly the same as in his previous life. The dungeons inside the game are very similar to the real world. In beginner dungeons, the player's real memories are erased, giving them the illusion that this world is the real one. However, for some reason, his memories were not erased, and since everything remains the same as in his previous life, then what they are about to experience is the game world inside the initial dungeon. The initial dungeon is very low level, but to complete it, the player needs to defeat 3 boss-level monsters. The 3 bosses have different abilities and the difficulty gradually increases. The dungeon is still quite difficult for beginner players. He opens his character's attribute panel and, upon looking, realizes that all his attributes, abilities, and items are zeroed, so he is just a completely new player, and as he is now, eliminating the 3 bosses is practically impossible. First, he needs to activate his game attributes. However, he comes across the existence of an objective he does not know called Unknown Blessing, and perhaps this is related to the fact that he kept the memories of his past life. Even so, the immediate priority is to obtain attributes and defeat the boss of the first phase. He begins to reflect on what the best way to break the deadlock is. He remembers that there is a secret side quest inside that dungeon, and if he obtains the attribute card from that quest and plans carefully, completing the dungeon will not be difficult. In addition, the dungeon begins at 11 o'clock, and there are still 12 minutes left, enough time. However, there is one more thing that bothers him: the voices he hears since he was reborn. These voices echo in his head like hallucinations since childhood, but compared to before, this time he can feel their meaning more clearly. What these voices said this time is related to saving Earth and defeating the evil gods. To defeat these gods, perhaps it will only be possible to unite forces, and if they removed the memories of that life after the time reset, next time they would certainly be able to eliminate the evil gods. However, the past version of the god may return trying to corrupt those who do not have memories of their past life. Even so, he is still confused, wondering what the words spoken by the voices mean. It is possible that in addition to obtaining the power of the 15 S-rank cards, he may also obtain their power. Luo Shi decides to set this aside for now, since his priority is to complete the side quest and obtain the reward chest. The system notifies that he has just arrived at a special coordinate location and activated a secret side quest, a hidden quest with a secret hidden in the men's bathroom stall. As soon as the quest message appears, he thinks that the next step is to fulfill the objective, and with that, he gently opens the bathroom door and sees a small monster. The system warns that the secret stall of the men's bathroom has been opened, and that the cowardly urban legend ghost has been detected. The ghost prepares to attack, but Luo Shi merely looks at it, saying that it has 2 choices: either leave voluntarily or have its life taken. The cowardly ghost becomes extremely frightened and simply runs away. The system announces that he successfully defeated the legendary cowardly ghost and that the treasure chest now belongs to him. The MC thinks that this is the coward from the urban legends and that it was guarding the treasure chest hidden there. As its name suggests, it is a very weak and cowardly monster, so if the player scares it, it will simply flee. The system informs that the mysterious treasure chest has appeared and asks whether it is a reward or a scare. But it is a pity that the MC does not have the key. However, he quickly solves the key problem. The system announces that the mysterious treasure chest has been damaged. While selecting the cards inside the chest, he thinks that many people are misled by the main information and miss the chance to obtain the treasure chest. As long as the player sets aside fear and prejudice, this is a highly efficient mission that even a novice can complete. He obtains 3 basic attribute cards: Agility +1, Strength +1, and Vitality +1. With these cards, he can activate his player attributes, and as soon as he uses them, his body is enveloped by energy. The system announces that he used an attribute card and that endurance, agility, and strength were successfully enhanced. In addition, the system informs that he increased all these attributes by 1 point and that he currently has a limit of up to 5 points. Even though he is still very weak, the strength he possesses at the moment is already enough to fight against the 3 bosses. As soon as he uses an attribute card to activate the game panel, he becomes an official player. Even an attribute level of just 1 already surpasses what a normal human can achieve. To test his character's strength, he punches the wall and manages to create a small crack. With these current attributes and the battle experience from his previous life, completing this initial dungeon is already relatively simple. However, this is far from enough to defeat those enemies and protect that world from destruction. So he needs to use everything at his disposal. In addition to all the power he will obtain within the game, now he also wants the power of the owner of those voices that continue to appear in his head. However, before advancing any further, he needs to clarify what that unknown blessing he received actually is. Luo Shi tries to communicate with the system or with the owners of the voices, asking whether that blessing he received came from them, and even thinking that he will probably not receive any answer, he is surprised by a voice saying that it depends on him. Suddenly, a shadow begins to form near him, pulling him into the darkness. The voice warns that it has always been watching him. Luo Xi asks who the person speaking to him is and why they gave him this blessing now. The voice says that the blessing is just a small trick and that if the MC truly wants their help for real, they need to evaluate his value and tells him to go fight since time is almost up. The MC says that he needs their power, so he will do his best to show that he has high value. He receives another system message saying that the countdown is about to end as the boss has been generated and attack mode is active. The current challenge dungeon is an E rank dungeon. The boss of that stage is about to descend and all players need to prepare. Players who leave their positions after the countdown ends will be considered to have failed the challenge. Even with less than a minute remaining, thanks to the effect of the agility attribute, the MC manages to reach the area, and as long as he can pass through the door, he will be safe. With 18 seconds remaining, 2 people were standing in front of the door asking what that countdown was because it was driving one of them crazy, and he begged to be taken out of there. The other said that if they did not let him leave, he would destroy that place. The MC walks past the 2, thinking that there are always idiots who cannot understand the situation no matter what happens. The countdown reaches 0, and the 2 who were at the door are eliminated. The other people around become frightened, asking what is happening and whether that elimination was because of the countdown. Luo Xi thinks that within this game, if a person does not follow the rules, they will be eliminated quickly. Suddenly, the door is sealed and people begin to question whether something is about to happen there. The system appears asking for everyone's attention, saying that the boss of that stage is about to appear and that all players must immediately search for weapons available around them. Facing the boss of that ranked stage will make them the cleanup squad. People remain confused, asking what boss that is and whether they were trapped there to fight this so-called boss. Others continue wanting to leave, asking what kind of game that is. Suddenly, they hear laughter, and the MC thinks that the first boss has just appeared. The essential condition for that E-level dungeon is to defeat all the bosses that appear. The first boss keeps laughing, saying that it is time to collect the trash. The first boss is the level 2 cleaning captain, an E-rank boss, with base attributes of level 1 vigor, level 2 agility, level 4 strength, and level 2 skill enhancement. The weapons wielded are a steel broom and a sharp dustpan, all E-level weapons. The ability he possesses is level 1 cleaning specialization. Cleaning specialization, when used with cleaning tools such as a broom and dustpan, increases his strength by 1 level. His subordinates are level 1 general cleaners, all E-rank monsters with their attributes at level 1. One of the people questions what kind of E-rank monster that is, and if he is really inside a game, how many punches such an insignificant boss could withstand. He tells everyone not to be afraid because as soon as he deals with that boss, he will get everyone out of there. The MC tries to stop him, asking him not to go because those things cannot be judged by common sense and he cannot act rashly. Luo Xi thinks that even a level 1 monster, as long as its attributes are above 0, is not something an ordinary person can face, and trying to defeat a boss with attributes using only brute force is an illusion. However, the man, thinking he is strong, tells the MC to shut up, saying that he was the last to run in and that if it were not for luck, he would have already suffered the worst by being eliminated along with those other 2. So what right does he have to give advice to anyone? The man thinks that he has already played many games and that it is obvious that the unlocked ranking is related to the number of monsters a person can eliminate. As long as he acts first, he can reach a high position on the ranking board. For a high-risk game like that, which involves people by force, the rewards must also be immeasurable. Maybe after he finishes that, when he returns to reality, he will become a millionaire. Luxury cars, beautiful women, mansions, all of that will be waiting for him. Driven by greed, the man attacks the first boss, saying that now they will become part of his wealth. But, as expected, he is eliminated in an instant. All the other people become terrified by that situation, questioning how that is possible. The first boss gives the order saying that the cleaning has now begun. The people, not understanding what they really need to do, simply start running, begging for their lives. Several people begin to be eliminated from the game while the first boss laughs, saying that trash is trash and only needs to be cleaned. Luo Xi, who was just observing, makes his first move, landing a direct punch on one of the first boss's subordinates, saying that their opponent now is him. He tells everyone that to resolve that situation, there is no other way except to resist and eliminate the boss. To become stronger and obtain S-rank cards to defeat those evil gods, eliminating those low-level bosses is also an essential part of the mission. People are astonished to see that someone was actually attacking the monsters and question who that boy is who is so fierce, since even the big guy was eliminated in an instant. The monster that had received the blow from the MC begins to move, saying to clean the trash, but Luo Xi makes it stop moving quickly. As soon as he eliminates the first monster, a card appears in front of him. The MC thinks that the system reward notification only appears after he manages to defeat the monster. Therefore, if the reward notification does not appear at any moment, it means that the player must deliver the final blow to avoid problems in the future. He obtained the E-rank steel broom and increased his strength by 1 more level. In addition, the system announces that he managed to defeat the level 1 general cleaner and received as a reward the E-level strength card, which increases the strength attribute by 1 level for characters level 5 or below. People continue to not understand anything when they see what the MC actually managed to defeat, questioning who that boy is and why he is stronger than that muscular man. Luo Shi thinks that eliminating low-level monsters can yield 1 of 3 cards: strength, agility, or vigor. At the moment, he desperately needs attributes, so it does not matter which card he gets, any of them will be useful. He uses the card, increasing his strength by another level. Another monster approaches, saying it is time to clean. However, the MC remains very calm, because within that world, as long as the player awakens attributes, even being just 1 level higher is enough to crush the opponent. Currently, the monsters have level 1 strength, while the MC has strength at level 2, so they are no longer a match for him. With just 1 blow, he eliminates the monster, and the system notifies that he defeated another general cleaner, granting an E-rank strength card as a reward. He thinks that with this card, his strength will reach level 3. Upon noticing another monster approaching, he eliminates it quickly, emphasizing that a clumsy surprise attack will never work against him. This time, he obtains an agility card, which satisfies him, since agility is a crucial attribute. The first boss, still with 2 monsters at his side, prepares to initiate the attack. Luo Shi knows that the game has an aggro value setting, where players who eliminate several monsters quickly become frequent targets, making it increasingly difficult to deal with enemies as the game progresses. The Cleaning Captain's exclusive skill, Cleaning Specialization, grants a 2-level strength increase, so facing multiple opponents at once is not wise. Therefore, he decides to wage a war of attrition, defeating them one by one. The monsters advance and Luo Shi retreats, shouting that if everyone does not want to die there, they need to throw anything at the 3 monsters to draw attention and create an opening. He thinks that he has drawn all the enemy's attention, leaving the other players relatively safe. They only need to provide a bit of cover so that he can seize the opportunity to counterattack. Moreover, if there are some competent players in that group, he can allow them to accompany him to clear the dungeon, because the more people who know how to clear the area, the more will survive. However, everyone is consumed by fear, questioning whether the monsters would not attack them if they did something, and also thinking that the MC can handle everything alone. Luo Shi realizes that he will have to find an opportunity on his own. The first boss leaps to attack him, but suddenly a keyboard hits its face. Luo Shi did not expect that, and the people around the boy wonder what he is doing. The bespectacled boy says that the MC is fighting for them, and that if everyone helps, everyone can survive. Even so, the man beside him becomes irritated, saying that ordinary people like them could not fight monsters. The first boss turns its attention to the boy, saying that the trash needs to be collected. Everyone starts running in fear, but the boy shouts to the MC that he managed to draw the boss's attention, and that now he should seize the opportunity. Before he even finishes speaking, the MC eliminates all the monsters and thanks him for the help. The system counts the 2 eliminations, and Luo Shi realizes that his current attributes completely surpass those of the general cleaners, allowing him to defeat them instantly. Now only the boss remains. He receives another agility card and another strength card. The first boss was about to attack the boy, who cries out for help, but Luo Shi appears behind it, saying that the real trash there is them, and eliminates it with ease. The system congratulates him for defeating the first boss of that stage, unlocking the player's contribution ranking. The system informs that he defeated the boss of the first stage and that the rewards will arrive shortly. Luo Shi thinks that he finally managed to unlock the ranking table and sees that his contribution is 700. The contribution ranking shows the MC in first place with 700 points, while second and third place have no contribution. He remembers that the first time he completed the dungeon, the player in first place received S-rank card number 001. And even though he did not obtain that card in his previous life, he knows that all of them possess incredible power. Therefore, he begins imagining what kind of powerful ability he will have with S-rank card number 001. Judging by the ranking table, no other player has managed to eliminate an opponent yet, but remaining in first place will not be easy as the game progresses, since the ranking is global and all players around the world who are drawn into the initial dungeons will score points. The game's initial dungeons appear simultaneously across the entire Earth. In his previous life, he managed to win in the end, but at the beginning of the game, many strong players also emerged, each possessing qualities that were difficult to replicate, and even having been reborn, he still cannot underestimate them. After completing each dungeon, the rewards are defined based on ranking. Skill cards, attributes, items, and so on follow the same pattern. So, in the following stages, he needs to complete them in a way that maximizes the points obtained, ensuring that he remains firmly in first place on the ranking table. In his current life, to defeat the evil gods, he must clear the game and obtain power even greater than in his previous life. Therefore, he needs to obtain S-rank card number 001. After some time, the system appears again saying that he managed to defeat the boss of the first stage, and with that, he can obtain the following rewards: E-rank attribute cards, endurance and agility, and E-rank special cards, iron embryo and cleaning. He realizes that the settlement reward for the battle against the boss includes the iron embryo card, and this is incredible luck that he had this time, because this card generates suitable E-rank weapons based on the user's aura, not to mention that it also has a small chance of generating a special weapon. The higher level weapon types are naturally the sword known as the Empress of 100 Weapons and the blade, the Queen of 100 Weapons, so he hopes that his luck will improve even more. The boy who had thrown the keyboard observes the MC somewhat surprised. Luo Shi thinks that the boy does not seem to be a particularly brave person, but he managed to step forward and help at a critical moment. The ability to assess the situation and courage are essential qualities for an excellent player, and if that boy becomes a player, he might help more people in the future. The MC walks over to the boy and thanks him again for helping to distract the boss. The boy says that only the MC could have won that fight, which means that if even he had fallen, all of them would certainly have been eliminated, so helping him was actually helping himself. Luo Shi acknowledges the boy's intelligence and says that those 3 cards will be useful if he gives them to him. He explains that stamina and agility can awaken player attributes, and that cleaning can remove negative effects when he faces mental pressure. However, the boy becomes a little hesitant to accept, saying that those cards would be more effective if the MC used them himself. Luo Shi continues insisting, saying that if the boy had not distracted the boss at that crucial moment, he would have had much more trouble winning, therefore the boy deserves them. He takes another card and asks the young man to observe very carefully the correct way to use it. He thinks that the second stage is about to begin, and that he first needs to increase his attributes. Currently, the MC has his strength and agility at level 4 and endurance at level 1. The boy says that he managed to understand and repeats the same thing the MC did. As soon as he uses the cards, he becomes surprised to feel what it is like to enhance his attributes, because his entire body seems a little lighter. Upon observing the attribute panel, he becomes surprised to see that he also has experience there. However, he does not know why it is there, since he did not manage to eliminate any of the monsters. The MC explains that he also attacked the boss, so after the boss was eliminated, he also gained a bit of experience. And when leveling up, the player also gains a small bonus in all attributes. Of course, these bonuses are better than the attributes granted by cards. The boy asks what level Luo Shi is currently at. The MC replies that he is at level 4, and the boy becomes very surprised by that. Luo Shi becomes excited because in his previous life, he never managed to obtain those random cards. So what will the appearance of his first weapon generated by his aura be like? He creates a blue sword, which is a type of growth evolution sword, and its level is unknown. Currently, she can be considered E rank, and her exclusive abilities are Rift Slashes. The effect of the ability causes blood energy to accumulate and fill the blade when striking with that sword. When the nodes on the blade become completely red, a powerful life energy from the sword is released. The special attribute she possesses is that every 10 levels the wielder reaches, the sword will randomly acquire an ability that will be permanently bound to the wielder through soul imprinting technology. Theft, exchange, or even death do not invalidate the effect. The MC thinks that this weapon is not bad at all since it is a sword that can evolve with growth. In addition, it also has a skill effect that makes it a rarity, and although it is only E rank, once the skill charge is complete, its combat power should be comparable to that of a C rank character. The boy with glasses is surprised to see the sword appear out of nowhere and asks if it is powerful since that was already expected of a knight who managed to eliminate those monsters. Luo Shi thinks that in the previous beginning, his weapon was the S-rank Dragon Flame Shadow. In comparison, the blue sword is far inferior. Fortunately, this one is in a growth and evolution stage, so there is still a lot of potential for the future. The system congratulates everyone, saying that Stage 1 has been completed and that Stage 2, the staff cafeteria, is about to begin. All players must immediately go to the cafeteria on the second floor to participate in the second stage. Players who do not arrive at the designated location after the countdown ends will be automatically considered failed. With that, the system gives them 5 minutes to reach the destination. Luo Shi thinks that this is exactly the same situation as in his previous life. The problem is that at that time, he was a novice player and extremely desperate. He asks the boy if he would like to accompany him. The young man is surprised by the invitation and asks if he can really go with him. Luo Shi explains that he needs intelligent people because this will help him complete the current dungeon and also with his future plans. And that boy is one of those people. The young man, excited, accepts without thinking twice, saying that he is willing to follow him. With everything settled, the MC states that it is time to go to the second location. Now that things were a bit calmer, everyone begins begging the MC to take them along. Some try to buy him with money, saying that they have very rich families in the real world. Some girls start flattering him, calling him handsome, and promising to do anything he ordered, regardless of what it was. However, a small group approaches, saying that the MC clearly has the strength to save everyone, so why doesn't he do that? Questioning whether their lives are worth nothing to him. Luo Shi has no patience at all and says that if they block his path again, he will not mind treating them like monsters. Everyone becomes frightened and trembling with fear, opening a path for them. People realize that the MC's eyes were no longer normal, but rather terrifying. Luo Shi's companion asks if he really will not take those people. The MC explains that by defeating the boss, he was also saving their lives, but they do not have the courage to act, and making these decisions could harm him in the future. He thinks that, in truth, he is not trying to save everyone, because he is not a noble person and is even a bit selfish. The truth is that he only wants to save the people he loves. His companion says that he understood everything and that he will do his best, and even the impossible, not to be a burden in the future. Luo Shi explains that the next boss may release some mental pollution into the space, so if the boy cannot endure it, he needs to remember to use the cleaning card he received. The boy wonders if mental pollution is one of the monster's debuff abilities. As soon as they enter the second floor, the system informs them that they have successfully arrived at the staff cafeteria and that they now need to choose a place to sit to participate in the second stage challenge. The young man thinks that the place smells very good and does not seem to have any negative effects. Suddenly, a monster appears saying that 1 minute remains. The boy almost has a heart attack, but Luo Shi explains that this is just the punisher of latecomers. The young man says that now he understands, because earlier he almost did not make it into the office in time, so he would have suffered the same punishment as those other two. The MC chooses one of the tables and asks his companion to sit beside him. The young man comments that the distance between the office and the cafeteria on the second floor is not very large, so people should not be late. Luo Shi agrees, saying that if people can make the right choice as quickly as possible, they indeed will not be late. However, most hesitate, waste time on unimportant things, and only at the last moment choose the only correct option, the one they do not dare to face. With less than a minute remaining, everyone starts running to the second floor while arguing about whether they should really enter, since now it is already too late and maybe they should have gone a little earlier. In the last 10 seconds, they finally reach the door and begin to enter. However, a bigger person arrives exactly when the time runs out, saying that as long as they were still outside, everything would be fine and that they just needed to find a place and sit down. But the executioner, who was at the door, eliminates the boy, stating that time had run out and that he was still outside. The rest become frightened again, questioning whether he was the boss of that floor. They do not understand why this time the boss appeared so quickly, but they realize that if they had not hesitated, none of this would have happened. Suddenly, they hear a noise and the boss appears pushing a cart with something on top, telling them to eat. He throws the terrifying meal onto people's plates and orders them to eat. The boy notices that what is being served looks very similar to the monsters from the office that they had defeated a short while ago. The system announces that a special effect has been activated and that all players who look directly at the meal will receive the mental pollution debuff. As a result, strength and agility are reduced by 20%, while spirit drops by 30 points. The boy notices that a negative effect really appeared, causing the 3 attributes to drop at the same time. Luo Shi explains that the difficulty does not lie only in that. The system announces that the meals have been distributed and that now everyone must eat as quickly as possible without wasting anything. Any waste will result in the boss's revenge. If they do not eat, the mental state will continuously decrease by 10% per minute. If a player's mental state drops to 0, he will suffer a mental collapse and be eliminated. 7 minutes remain for them to make a decision. The boy says that if they waste, they will be eliminated, and if they do not eat, they will also be eliminated, so how will they survive? Since he has no idea how he could eat something like that. He realizes that the second stage is extremely more terrifying than the first, and begins to wonder if this will really be the end. Luo Shi emphasizes that although the second stage is more difficult and demanding than the first, there is still another way to solve that situation. Wu Wen questions whether the MC really knows how to pass the stage and says that if he needs help, he just has to ask. Luo Shi asks him to wait for orders and that if by any chance his mental state worsens to the point he cannot endure it, he needs to remember to use the cleansing card. That way, he will be able to remove the negative effect and keep his mind lucid. And when he needs help, he will naturally ask. The system warns that mental pollution is in progress and that the player's mental strength is declining. There are still 7 minutes left and the player's remaining mental strength is 70%. The other people do not know what to do. Just looking at the food already makes them feel sick. However, if they do not eat within 7 minutes, they will go completely insane. The MC thinks that after his attributes were reduced by the negative effect of mental pollution, facing those monsters head-on has become practically impossible. The normal way to pass that stage is to eat the food, making the bosses lower their guard. That way, everyone can take advantage of the opportunity to surround and eliminate them, a collective and effective method. However, this method only yields the most basic points and rewards. The system informs the MC that he has received an unknown blessing, making him immune to mental pollution. He remembers that mysterious voice had said that the unknown blessing was just a little trick, and that if he wanted real help, he needed to show his worth. Surprised, he asks if this effect of nullifying the negative effect is the little trick they mentioned, and if this really is the blessing from those voices. Thanks to it, these negative effects no longer affect him, and this is excellent, since because of this, he can pass the stage using the hidden high difficulty rules he knew from his previous life. That way, he not only manages to obtain a high score and secure his position in the player ranking, but he can also receive valuable rewards. Suddenly, one of the people throws the food on the ground, shouting that he will not eat that, because he would rather die than go through that humiliation. Wu Wen asks if that person had an early nervous breakdown. Luo Qi explains that this is indeed the case. Human mental resistance, compared to what the attribute values demonstrate, is actually much easier to analyze. If someone's psychological resistance is very weak, that person will not be able to resist the invasion of mental pollution. But if they cannot clear the stage, everyone there will have the same fate. The young man continued stepping on the food while laughing, saying that he would not eat, but soon receives a blow. The boss says that he really does not need to eat, he just needs to be eliminated. Even on the ground and almost without strength, the boy continued saying that he would not eat. The boss grabs him and drags him outside. The other people, frightened, say that this is what will happen if they do not eat. However, they do not know how they will manage to eat something like that. Another person points out that there are only 6 minutes left, asking if all of them will be able to finish eating in that time. The system alerts in red, saying that no player has consumed the meal. The mental level of all players is at -10%. Because of this, all players currently have 60% of their minds. The MC thinks that the secret condition to obtain the maximum score in that stage is precisely to break the safe and conventional method, activating high difficulty mode and thus completing it successfully. And it is already time to put his plan into practice. He stands up and throws the food on the ground, saying that he cannot eat that. However, that is part of his plan, because uncovering the hidden rules is the first step to activating high difficulty mode and attracting the attention of a monster boss card. The system warns that he has attracted the attention of a boss and that the risk of being eliminated is 80%. The boss goes up to him and questions what he thinks he is doing, telling the MC to sit down because if he does not eat, his head will be shoved into a bucket. Luo Qi prepares, thinking that he managed to unlock the hidden rule and that now he needs to go to the second step, which is to activate the aggression system and eliminate one of the bosses. With just one blow, he manages to eliminate the boss in front of him. And the system warns that he managed to defeat the level 3 servant boss and obtained 2 attribute card rewards, strength and endurance. With that, the second phase of the dungeon cleansing war officially begins. Thanks to his previous attack, the aggression level of the other 3 remaining bosses toward the MC increased to 100%. With that, he activated the hidden rule, attacking first is advantageous. All bosses abandoned attacks on other players and focused entirely on eliminating him. Additionally, he also receives a notice that the points and rewards he receives for eliminating monsters increased by 10%. This is the secret high difficulty rule called attacking first is advantageous, hidden in the second phase. All bosses entered a state of fury and begin to approach. Luo Qi continues thinking that he needs to abandon the original strategy of attacking first to eliminate one boss and at the same time attract the attention of all the monsters, becoming their only target. Due to excessive concentration, the possibility of elimination increases considerably. To conserve energy for the real boss later, he needs to create distance, avoiding being surrounded and injured. He quickly moves away, thinking that he only needs to follow the plan and make some preparations, since now he is the only target of those monsters and he no longer needs bait. However, one of the bosses manages to catch up to him quickly, and with a smile on his face says that a mere human will not be able to escape him, so it is better for him to surrender. Luoqi manages to block the attack, even surprising the boss, but the boss says he would like to see if he can block more attacks and begins attacking him rapidly. That is the E-level skill Quick Slash. However, this was also part of the plan to defeat the boss. His current cards are not enough. First, he needs to activate the blue sword skill through the smaller monsters. The MC leaves full defense for a counterattack, rivaling the boss and clashing blows one after another. However, the boss cannot believe that that guy can keep up with his speed, since among all the bosses, he is the fastest. However, keeping up with his pace will be useless, since the MC is destined to lose. The boss asks how Luoqi will deal with those other two, since he is being restrained by his blade. The other two bosses approach from behind, but Luoqi disarms the first boss, who cannot believe that he was actually disarmed by a human, which makes him question whether the MC's strength was really that superior to his. However, a few minutes ago, the two were fighting on equal footing. The system warns that the blue sword, exclusive skill, is active. He thanks the monster, saying that his strike finished charging. The first boss becomes frightened, thinking that this is not good at all since the MC was waiting for his strength and using that battle to charge his skill. He shouts for his companions to run because they fell into a trap, but Luoqi begins to laugh, saying that now it is too late. In 1 second and with a single strike, he manages to eliminate the 3 bosses at once. He explains that visual flaws visible to the naked eye are usually traps prepared to lure prey. Thanks to his victory, he managed to obtain 3 endurance cards and 3 agility cards. Wu Wen breathes a sigh of relief, thinking that they managed to win, and apparently the MC had everything planned from the beginning. The system warns that a player successfully activated the hidden rule, attacking first is advantageous. The boss of that stage became completely enraged. The rage level of the manager boss increased by 100%. All attributes of the manager boss increased by 1 level. Wu Wen questions what is happening there and if a boss can really increase his attributes, and what this so-called hidden rule is about. Suddenly, the cafeteria door opens and a frightening aura, along with a loud noise, begins to echo inside the cafeteria. All the other people become completely terrified and question whether that earthquake is the boss arriving. And, as stated in the previous warning, he became even stronger, which means that if the MC cannot defeat him, everyone will probably be eliminated. Luoqi thinks that this is the final link of the hidden rule that allows summoning the boss directly, but at the same time increases the difficulty of completing the stage. But consequently, the rewards and points for battling the boss will also increase. The system sends 2 warnings to him, saying that because he activated the hidden rule, attacking first is advantageous, the boss's strength increased greatly. However, the rewards and points that he can obtain from the boss in that stage also increased by 30%. Even knowing that the difficulty is much higher, the MC thinks that he needs to succeed at all costs. Only by obtaining greater rewards and points will he be able to reach his true objective in that life. The manager boss enters the cafeteria asking who eliminated his subordinates. That is the kitchen manager, a level 5 boss, E ranking. The current state of the boss is enraged and all his attributes have increased by 1 level. Currently, his endurance is at level 6. His strength rose to 8 and his skill enhancement also improved. He possesses the Bone Crack skill, and its effect is that it increases strength by 2 levels. Wu Wen becomes worried upon seeing the boss's strength and size, asking if his companion will really be able to win that battle. Luoqi needs to use all the attribute cards he can. To defeat the boss strengthened by the hidden rule, he must not hold back at any moment. He used all his 4 remaining cards, raising all his stats to level 5. However, E-level cards can only raise the corresponding attribute up to level 5, so those 2 remaining E-level agility attribute cards are useless to him now. Luoqi throws the cards to Wu Wen, telling him to use them immediately. The other people begin to lament because if they had known that the MC would give attribute cards, they would also have acted at the moment he needed them. However, some people do not even know what those attribute cards are for and question whether they can increase their chance of survival. The manager boss, completely irritated, shouts again, asking who eliminated his adorable subordinates. The ordinary people become desperate because just the manager boss's shout already makes all of them tremble. Wu Wen asks himself if this is the power of attribute cards, since he did not think the monster's roar was as frightening as the other people thought. The manager boss continues pressuring them, demanding that they answer who the culprit was, or else all of them will be eliminated. The people begin running desperately for their lives, but the MC steps forward, blocking the boss's attack, taking the blame and saying that the one who eliminated all 3 subordinates was him. The manager boss says that he is just an insignificant ingredient and therefore he will pay the most painful price there is. Furthermore, he says that he will leave the MC's mind intact so that he can watch all his companions being eliminated one by one. Luoqi states that before he could even do that, he would have his life taken. The boss, offended, begins attacking with everything he has, saying that he would like to see if he really has that ability, since he is nothing more than an ingredient. The boss's strength is so great that it throws the MC far away. Wu Wen becomes worried, seeing that not even Luo Shi can block an attack with level 8 strength. The MC begins to stand up, saying that he is fine, and tells the boss that it has been a long time since he heard that. In his previous life, when he was finishing the game, he also formed his own team. But on the path to finishing the game, all of them ended up losing their lives, and in the end, only he managed to survive. However, the question that always echoes in his mind, in his deepest thoughts, is why he was the only survivor. The boss continues advancing, saying that he will tear him into pieces like a real ingredient. Luo Qi continues thinking that back then, he never managed to understand, but now he finally understands the reason he survived. The boss attacks again, but this time the MC manages to block the attack. The manager becomes frightened, seeing that his speed increased drastically. However, the MC is only dodging the attacks, but before he could even finish the sentence, Luo Shi shows what he is really capable of. Since the reason he survived until the end was because he never hesitated and his thoughts were always deep. That means he is more than any of them individually, because there is only one objective in his life, which is to win. The boss falls to the ground, completely defeated. Meanwhile, the MC continues thinking that whoever wants to win always resorts to any means necessary. Even after he finally managed to win, he realized that he did not want to just win. After winning, he also wants to protect each one of them, protect the precious life he dreams of so much, a normal world. The system appears saying that he managed to defeat the boss of the second phase, and with that, he can obtain the following rewards. Additionally, he activated the secret rule, attacking first is advantageous, so the rewards automatically increased by 30%. His rewards were 1 E+ ranking strength, endurance, and agility card. These cards are slightly higher than the simple E ranking card. With these new cards, he can increase his attributes by 1 point if they are below level 10. Additionally, he also managed to gain memory. The memory card is a special E ranking card and allows him to recover true memories. The special rewards were the surprise buff from the manager boss. He just needs to select and activate it to use it. Within 10 minutes, a random attribute will increase by 3 levels. He realizes that if the hidden rule had not been activated, the reward would have been only the memory. The other two are extra rewards. Additionally, the player's contribution will increase, and now it is time for him to see what his contribution has been so far. He enters the player contribution ranking. Currently, he is in first place, with 1,700 contribution points. Second place contributed only 300 points, and third place, 260 points. However, this was already expected. Some people have already started to enter the list. Despite having far fewer points than him, they are new and truly talented players. In the future, they will also become the backbone of humanity's fight against this cursed game. However, the evil gods will not allow the players to become stronger. Later, they will create extremely malicious stages to prevent humanity from prospering. Last time, it was exactly this type of malicious game dungeon that destroyed most of humanity's strongest players. But this time, when this type appears, he will obtain the special S-level card which can deal with any dungeon. And looking at the ranking table, he thinks that he is very eager to see all his old opponents again. A message congratulating everyone appears saying that Stage 2, Staff Cafeteria, has been completed. The final stage, Escape of the Company, is about to begin. So, all players must immediately head to the rooftop lobby. Players who do not arrive after the countdown ends will automatically be considered failures. The countdown begins, and they have only 5 minutes to reach the next objective. This is the most difficult stage and is about to begin. Luo Shi calls Wu Wen, saying that it is time to go. While they were walking, Wu Wen was a little strange and takes something from his pocket, asking his boss to wait a moment because he had something to deliver. Luo Qi becomes confused upon seeing that paper napkin and asks what it is for. Wu Wen explains that, unfortunately, he still cannot help much, but he managed to take that from the dining table and Luo Shi can use it to clean his face. He emphasizes that he is actually just useless, because if he were a little stronger, the MC would not need to deal with the bosses alone. Luo Qi becomes surprised, thinking that most people in that world are still kind. He takes the paper napkin, telling Wu Wen that what he just said is not true and that he is very useful. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, the last boss was telling his subordinates that the humans have already overcome the first 2 stages and will soon reach them. He asks all his subordinates not to be shy and to devour any human who approaches. Wu Wen takes advantage of the time they have until the next stage and asks the MC if he managed to eliminate the kitchen boss with the agility attribute, and if that means that a high attribute level means they can defeat monsters easily. Luo Qi explains that it is not exactly like that because It also depends on the individual's basic attribute. Humans are also divided into athletic and intellectual types. Wu Wen becomes upset since he is not athletic. He thinks that his boss's explanation means that someone like him, who is not good at sports, even with level 5 agility, it is impossible to dodge the monster's attacks. Wu Wen looks at Luo Shi thinking that he is so strong that he must have been a special forces soldier or something similar in real life. Suddenly, the MC stops and tells his friend to stay there and inform all the other players when they arrive that they cannot think about escaping under any circumstances. He explains that this is the most important hidden rule of the next stage. If they try to escape, they will be considered failures. Even if the gate opens, they will not be able to escape. Wu Wen says that if he stays there, it means Luo Shi will... The MC interrupts him, saying that it is exactly that and states that he will deal with the monsters of the next stage alone, since those guys are very dangerous for Wu Wen. Wu Wen understands the situation and tells his boss that he will stay there and tell everyone about the secret rule. He thinks that the MC is a very nice and kind person. He's even worrying about other people as insignificant as himself. However, the truth is that the MC knows that if he has any helper in the next stage, he will activate a hidden rule that makes solving the puzzle easier. Although there are other hidden rules that he can use, with his current level, it is impossible to complete it alone. And to ensure safety, he needs to find the player with the greatest combat power who was originally in the dungeon, since the third stage requires facing 10 level 5 guards, in addition to a level 7 security captain. Their strength is much greater than the monsters from the second stage. In the memories of his past life, working as a team was the only way to erase everything. Fighting alone would only cause the individual to be surrounded and eliminated easily. While the MC was waiting, a person approaches, and he thinks that the player has finally arrived. That guy was incredibly famous in his past life. All 3 stages of the game are truly very difficult. In his previous life, he managed to complete them, not only by dedicating time to finding the hidden rules, but also with that exceptionally skilled man as the backbone of the team. His name is Xu Zhengyong. In his previous life, he was even more prominent than Luo Shi at that time. Zhengyong asked the MC if he really told that short guy with glasses to warn everyone not to run away, and questions if this is some kind of humiliation. Luo Shi explains that it was just a friendly reminder. Zhengyong assumes that the MC's performance in the past 2 stages was truly impressive. On the other hand, he never had the opportunity to act, but now he finally managed to understand the situation of that game. He advances attacking Luo Shi, saying that he wants to defeat him in a clean and fair way. After doing that, he will defeat the boss of the next stage. The MC tells him to stop being an idiot, since he does not have enough strength to win, and with just one slap, he throws Zhengyong backward. Zhengyong becomes frightened, seeing that this is not human strength, and questions if it is possible that it is a bonus from the game. Luo Shi explains that the next stage is very complicated and that if Zhengyong is willing to join his team, then he will hand over those 3 attribute cards. Zhengyong asks why Luo Shi thinks he will join the team. The MC throws a card saying that this will make him join. That is the true memory card. Another difficulty in uncovering the secrets of that game is that it erases people's true memories. And without memories, there are no weaknesses. Without weaknesses, there is no way to unite people. And this shows that those evil gods truly understand humanity perfectly. But fortunately, the memory card can awaken memories in people's hearts. In his previous life, he had witnessed Zhengyong's weakness in reality. Therefore, he will agree to the proposed terms without hesitation. Zhengyong manages to recover his memories and thinks that he needs to get out of there alive. Zheng Yu is still waiting for him outside the game. He asks the MC if working together will really solve the problem. Luo Shi throws the rest of the attribute cards, telling him not to have any more doubts. While his strength was evolving, Zhengyong promises that he will never forget the kindness that the MC is showing him. With everything resolved, they go to the rooftop. Luo Shi explains that Zhengyong must help him contain some of the monsters and he will take care of the rest. Before entering, Luo Shi asks the system to use the E+ ranking card and also the surprise buff from the manager boss. Quickly, his strength rises to level 7. His agility and vigor rise to level 5. Even though his strength increases to level 7, it will not be enough for him to face the boss of the next stage. For it to be effective, it would have to be at least level 9 strength. That way things would be a little easier. However, the surprise buff from the manager boss was still not active, so he needed to wait to see the boost he would get. A few seconds later, the system appears saying that the manager boss's surprise buff is active and that the strength obtained was 3 levels. The duration is 10 minutes. He thinks that this time, he was very lucky, and now this next stage will be easy. Besides his strength being at level 10, there is also a hidden rule that will increase strength by 1 level again. And this time, the kitchen boss helped a lot. They open the door and the soldiers ask if there are really only 2 people and if the others have already hidden. Additionally, they point out that the two are very skinny and barely have any meat, so they will not withstand many blows. Jung-young becomes a little frightened since this is the first time he faces monsters head-on, and the pressure when facing them is truly too intense, which makes him question whether just the two of them will be enough to defeat that group of monsters. The MC draws his sword and states that the two of them are more than enough to eliminate everyone there. Jung-young becomes surprised, seeing that there is not a drop of fear in Luo-shi's heart and that he should follow this example and be the same. The system warns that he arrived at the rooftop lobby ahead of schedule and that he released killing intent against the security team. The hidden rule Courage Reward has been activated. The strength of the players Luo-shi and Jung-young increased by 1 level. Luo-shi begins to act like his past self, the strongest human in the game. With a smile on his face, Luo-shi thinks that now, with this level of strength, the real monster inside there is himself. He rushes at his opponents with everything he has. Jung-young asks him to wait but is completely ignored. He thinks that the MC is being too reckless. When he was an underground boxing fighter, he often encountered opponents whose real strength he could not evaluate. The best strategy at that moment is to clearly observe the opponent's movements, and only then define a fatal blow. And if the MC rushes in without knowing the enemy's strength, he will suffer a great loss. The soldiers also advance, saying that the MC looks very skinny and weak, and question how many blows he can withstand. One of them says he will deliver the first to test, however he is eliminated in less than a second. Jung-young becomes frightened by the amount of strength and speed the MC possesses, so there is no need to wait for a counterattack. Not to mention that he held back in that strike, otherwise even he would have suffered the effect. The other soldiers realize that Luo-shi is not ordinary and shout, saying that they need to activate their skill to attack as a group immediately. Suddenly, the system appears in red, telling all players to go immediately to the rooftop lobby for the final stage. Otherwise, they will be considered failures and will be eliminated at the end of the countdown. The MC thinks that even if the countdown has not ended, upon reaching the rooftop lobby, the person will be attacked immediately. This is also a malicious hidden rule. Seeing that there was only 1 minute left until the countdown ended, he starts eliminating all the soldiers in front of him. He needs to eliminate as many monsters as possible to create a relatively safe environment for Wu Wen and the others. In the corridor, Wu Wen was coordinating the entire group, telling them to follow in order to the rooftop since they still had plenty of time. Luo-shi feels proud of his companion, seeing that he really has a brilliant mind, since he managed to realize his true intentions. Wu Wen continues coordinating everyone while thinking that his boss made him stop halfway on purpose, so there must be a good reason. So all he can do now is gain as much time as possible and only bring everyone in at the last moment. Jung-young becomes excited and thinks that those monsters no longer seem that strong, so he can help, but Luo-shi stops him, telling him not to make any unnecessary movement, because his real mission is to protect everyone else. The few soldiers who were still alive begin saying that the MC is a very strong opponent, so they need to eat some meat to recover their strength. Luo-shi thinks that it is finally time for Jung-young to act. As soon as the rest of the people enter the lobby, one of the soldiers immediately rushes toward them, but Jung-young grabs him by the neck and gently pats his face, telling him not to even think about touching the members of that group. Jung-young knows that Luo-shi does not like everyone, but if he wants to save them all, then he must have a good reason. He continues attacking the soldiers, but cannot understand why it is so difficult to hit those monsters since he is barely able to cause any damage. However, he sees Luo-shi making it look easy, since he was facing 3 at once. Wu Wen asks everyone not to move so as not to attract the monster's attention. All they need to do is trust those two who are fighting. The group realizes that, in fact, the two of them are the last hope, so they just need to trust and try to support them with words. Luo-shi thinks that the blue patterned sword skill has already been acquired. The soldiers prepare to use their skills and try to defeat Luo-shi once and for all. The MC looks at them, saying that this is very funny because he was thinking the same thing. Using the skill of his sword, he eliminates all the monsters around him. The people who were previously worried now look at him differently, saying that they are very lucky to have such an influential figure with them. Jung-young was still throwing weak punches at his enemy, asking how Luo-shi manages to be so strong. After clearing out the soldiers, the MC points his sword at the boss, saying that now it is time for them to have some fun. The boss looks at him, saying that this is very interesting. The system warns that the security captain, the final level 7 boss, has just arrived. The boss stares at the MC, saying that eliminating someone as strong as him is what truly brings pleasure to his life. Wu Wen becomes worried again, seeing that the boss's strength is level 10 and that his attributes are terrifying. However, Luo-shi remains calm and focused on his objective, which is always to win. In his previous life, eliminating that boss cost many lives and much time, but in this life, he alone is enough. With frightening strength and impressive speed, he delivers countless blows to the boss, eliminating him almost instantly. The message appears saying, Luoshi of the human race, with level 8 and experience 200 of 1000. His base attributes are strength level 14 plus 1, vigor and agility at level 8, learned skills unlocked, skill cards not yet obtained, equipped items, blue pattern sword, E ranking, manager boss surprise buff, strength plus 3 obtained, courage reward, strength plus 1 obtained, some unidentified blessing obtained. Each of the small monsters he just eliminated gave him an E plus level attribute card. With the addition of 2 strengthening effects, his strength accumulated to 14 points, considerably increasing his combat power. And this is the advantage of accumulating all experience and attribute cards. In his previous life, when he completed that, he was only at level 2. Wu Wen cannot understand how his boss keeps getting stronger and stronger. The other people also can barely believe that a human can be that strong, saying that they need to cling to him at any cost. Luo Shi thinks that now only Zheng Yong needs to eliminate his opponent and the area will be clear. Zheng Yong shouts that the next punch will decide the winner. The monster says that if that is the case, then he will be eliminated and sent straight to hell, but Luo Shi intervenes and eliminates the monster, pointing out that there is no need to fight so fiercely. Zheng Yong thinks that Luo Yi has great presence because the monster he was struggling so hard to defeat was eliminated like a simple insect. The system congratulates everyone for successfully completing the beginner E-level dungeon. The final rewards will be determined based on each person's performance. The contribution ranking makes it clear that the MC contributed 99.9% of the damage, Zheng Yong with 0.075%, and Wu Wen helped with 0.025%. The remaining players contributed absolutely nothing. Luo Shi thinks that now the final and definitive settlement is about to begin. This time, with a contribution of 99.9%, he can barely imagine what kind of extra reward he will receive. The message appears warning that the dungeon completion rewards are in progress. The survival reward is E classification, full attribute activation cards all players who survive the dungeon will receive. Additionally, everything obtained inside the dungeon can be taken to the real world. The whole group becomes happy upon seeing that they also received rewards, and this is great, since it was not easy at all to survive. Luo Shi already expected this, because it was exactly the same in his past life. As long as the person survives the dungeon, he will receive a basic reward. This type of reward will increase the possibility of survival in the next dungeon. However, powerful physical attributes can also lead them to commit evil acts in reality. Therefore, in this life, he needs to establish player management rules as quickly as possible. This way, he will be able to contain these suddenly acquired powers. To achieve this objective, he needs the support of major figures in the real world, and his position on the scoreboard with such a large gap compared to second place will probably attract these people to him, since currently he is leading with a wide advantage over the others. So, anyone can see that he is the dominator of that terrifying game. As soon as the rewards were delivered, everyone uses the cards obtained and begins to celebrate, asking if this is how people who acquire attributes feel. Their bodies feel lighter, stronger, and faster. Not to mention that their energy increased drastically. Wu Wen celebrates because he also gained all his attributes. Zheng Yong realizes that the enhanced attributes really make him feel extremely stronger than before. The MC thinks that his strength is at level 15, and, compared to the others, he is slightly above the recommended level. Now it is time for the clear reward for contribution in that stage. The rewards vary according to contribution and are generated based on the percentage of each person's contribution. Wu Wen realizes that with his small contribution, he probably will not receive any reward. Zheng Yong feels regret because if he had acted a little earlier, then maybe he could have contributed a little more. Luo Shi is still unsure about what type of reward will appear for him, because even in his past life, he never had a contribution as significant and clear as this one. Wu Wen gains a strength attribute card, E classification. Because of his contribution, he becomes astonished to see that there is a possibility of increasing his attributes. Zheng Yong manages to receive 2 cards and says that contributing is very useful in that game. The two look at Luo Shi since his contribution is so large, so he will probably receive a very generous reward. The MC was looking at his reward thinking that it is very interesting because it is the first time he has received something like that. For contributing 99.9% of all the damage inside the dungeon, his rewards will be E plus level. The first reward is a maximum full attribute card. When used, he can directly increase all attributes to level 10. The special reward is a player class change card. The effect is that he can change class randomly, with a chance of obtaining a profession of a level higher than S ranking. The last one on the list is the special permanent team formation card. He can summon 2 players of his choice to enter the dungeon in which he is participating. Luochi becomes surprised upon seeing that he obtained class change, team formation, personal strengthening, and even establishment of influence, which shows that his luck really is very good. Suddenly, the whole place begins to shake and people become frightened, asking what is happening and if it is an earthquake. But when they look to the side, they realize that the dungeon scene is disappearing. This makes them question whether they can finally return to reality. The MC explains that this is exactly it. After clearing the dungeon, they can return to reality for a brief rest period. Additionally, since the moment they entered the game, the world has gone through drastic changes. Something wants to destroy planet Earth, and that is why that deadly game was created. Wu Wen asks how the game was created, but Zheng Yong is only impressed, thinking that all of that is incredible. Before everyone leaves, Luo Shi asks all of them to do their best in the next dungeon. The mission they have from now on is to clear dungeons, defeat bosses, and gain a lot of power. They need to obtain the power to defeat those bastards and protect the world from destruction. Zheng Yong thinks that Luo Shi's declaration is grand and imposing, as it should be coming from someone so great. Before the game ends, another message appears saying that the player, Luo Shi, first place in the global player contribution ranking, received a special S ranking card as a reward. A special S ranking card is a power beyond the gods, so he needs to use it wisely. The being that owns that strange voice appears as something divine. Observing everything that was happening, he says that he would like to continue seeing if Luo Shi continues to be so exceptional, and might even grant some divine power to Luo Shi. Back in the real world, the MC wakes up taking a deep breath, while thinking that he truly hopes someone listens to what he is saying. To save the world, he will need the strength of many more people. Suddenly, the nurse enters the room and shouts for the doctor, saying that he finally woke up. The doctor goes to him and realizes that he is conscious, and with all vital signs normal, which shows that it is not serious at all. The doctor explains that he was in a coma for 3 days, just like hundreds of thousands of other people. However, the MC was the first to wake up, but the doctor questions how it can be such a huge coincidence that hundreds of thousands of people all over the world entered a coma at the same time. He asks if the MC knows anything, but the first question Luo Shi asks is where his mother is. The doctor takes him to his mother's room and explains that she entered a deep coma on the same day he did. And even though everything in her body is normal, she cannot wake up. And even without wanting to give that news, the doctor explains that if they were to analyze that situation from a medical perspective, his mother entered a vegetative state. Luo Shi keeps looking at her while thinking that just like in his previous life, she was also chosen to be among the first group of players. The player selection is not involving everyone in the game at the same time. Instead, it continuously recruits humans in batches. Those who fail enter a permanent vegetative state. In that second life, the most important thing is to ensure that his mother does not suffer like that again, so that she can live a good and comfortable life. And in his pocket, he has the special S ranking card number 001. Its name is Freedom. Its ability consists of selecting one player and ensuring that the game will no longer select that person. The user can also obtain the ability to enter or leave game dungeons. He uses the card and orders it to release his mother. The light emitted by the card takes over the place, and the doctor questions what is happening there, but as soon as the light fades, the doctor refuses to believe that what he is seeing is real. The MC's mother wakes up and asks how she ended up there. Luo Shi hugs her and, with tears in his eyes, promises to his mother that from that moment on, she will not have any more problems. The doctor continues without understanding absolutely anything, asking if that can be considered a miracle. Somewhere else, some mysterious people look at the global contribution ranking and realize that the player in first place is Luo Shi, with 3,000 contribution points. They comment that he is the #1 player in the world and that they need to gain his trust. In the future, Luo Shi may become a new world ruler. His mother explains that she really ended up in a terrifying amusement park. There were all kinds of monsters and many people. The monsters chased them everywhere. The MC asks what happened after that. However, he already knows that his mother experienced a beginner dungeon styled like an amusement park. She continues telling the story, saying that she saw a monster extending its claws toward her. After that, her vision darkened, and she did not know anything else. But when she opened her eyes, she saw her beautiful son again. She emphasizes that the dream was very strange and, at the same time, real. Luo Shi just smiles, thinking that it was not a dream. Suddenly, Qingzai starts knocking on the door. The MC recognizes the voice, thinking that just like in his past life, his friend managed to calm him down and wake him up. Qingzai enters the room excited, saying that he had transmigrated into a game, just like a manhwa MC. However, there were many other people with him. A powerful man and woman guided the entire group through the dungeon. The MC's mother is surprised, asking if he really had the same dream as her. Luo Shi thinks that Qingzai's Chunabu has not diminished over the years. He intervenes in the conversation, telling his mother to rest a little, since she spent a long time unconscious. Meanwhile, he and his friend will talk outside. As soon as they go outside the room, Qingzai questions if the MC really does not believe him, because everything he said is true and that game even has a name. Luo Shi asks if the name of the game is Forbidden Day. Qingzai is surprised and asks how he knew that. Luo Shi emphasizes that his friend should know that these things can become reality. He asks Qingzai to open the global player contribution ranking, but his friend gets confused, questioning what the system is and how to display the global player contribution ranking. But as soon as he opens it, he is surprised to see first place in the global ranking. Luo Shi says that is right. He is the first, the only one, and the strongest. Qingzai remains shocked, questioning if his childhood friend really is the #1 player in the global ranking. The MC takes one of his cards, telling his friend that after he uses it, he will also receive a message. He asks the system to use the player class change card. The system warns that player Luo Shi used the player class change card, and the class draw is in progress. Luo Shi thinks that in the game, all professions are extremely powerful because class change cards are extremely rare. These professions require the user to level up. In addition, all professions are usually fragile at the beginning, but their future is unlimited. Among all the classes, there are 3 that are the most powerful. It is possible to advance to Elemental Master, which can evolve even further into Supreme Intent of the 4 symbols. These are powerful professions that can control the 4 elemental forces: wind, fire, water, and lightning. It is possible to advance to Dragonblood Descendant, which can evolve even further into Black Flame Exterminator Dragon King. This profession can transform into a giant dragon that spits destructive black flames. The last class is Wise Seeker, which can evolve into Time-Traveling Sage. This profession allows one to master the ability to travel through time and interfere with the timeline. She is the most powerful and has never appeared before. He only managed to see brief mentions of her in the system information from his previous life. While looking at the system, he thinks that the class draw is completely random and questions whether it is possible for him to choose his profession. The draw ends and the system says that he is an Omni Apprentice. Luo Chi is surprised, since that is a profession he has never heard of before. The system explains that player Luo Chi successfully changed class. The Omni Apprentice class has a hidden classification. The professional talent is Tool Resonance. The person who changes class begins to perceive the reason that flows through all things. She can transcend muscle memory and enter deep harmony with tools, weapons, instruments, and even simple objects around her. In her hands, she reaches the state where mind and skill become one. The system shows that currently he is at the first level of his class, which is Omni Apprentice. However, there are still 4 more levels for him to reach, totaling 5 levels for one profession. This makes him even more surprised, since a normal profession only has 3 career progressions, but his has 5. The difficulty of progressing in that profession far surpasses that of any other profession he has ever heard of, and this makes him even more eager to know what kind of power this profession will give him when it develops to the end, because even he, the strongest player of the past, feels a bit of expectation and curiosity about it. Qingzai receives the system message and shouts to his friend that he became the first person in the world to change class. He is so impressed that he starts stuttering. Luo Chi asks what he is trying to say. Qingzai throws himself to the ground, grabbing the MC's leg, asking him to help in the name of the old days, since they are friends and grew up together. The nurse approaches the two and asks if she's interrupting something. Luo Chi asks her if something happened, because he remembers that after waking up that time, the nurse went to him to charge payment. In his previous life, he suffered many problems because of that. The nurse explains to him that his mother's hospital expenses, referring to the first semester of the year, have already been exhausted, and he is more than 1 month behind on treatment payments. Qingzai offers to pay since he still has some money saved from his job, but the MC refuses, saying that he will find a way to deal with it. In his previous life, to get money for his and his mother's treatment, he made deals with important figures and became their bodyguard, since the physical conditioning of players drastically surpasses that of ordinary people. So first, he needs to take on the burden that was originally on his mother's shoulders, and from that point on, promises himself that he will no longer be a burden to anyone. Suddenly, the nurse's phone rings and she asks for permission to answer it. Upon receiving the news, she is surprised and informs Luo Shi that he no longer needs to worry since someone paid a large amount of his debts. The amount was so large that it is enough for him and his mother to stay in the hospital for the next 100 years, and there is still enough left for the shaved head patient as well. Qingzai asks if he is the shaved head patient. Irritated, he explains that he does not have any mental illness and is only there to visit his friend. While they were there in the corridor talking to the nurse, some people begin to approach saying that they would like to go to room 226, Three people approach and one of them asks if they know where Mr. Luo Shi is. Qingzai gets a little confused and asks who that guy is. The blonde man asks the two if they are friends of Luo Shi. The woman explains that they have something very important to discuss with him. The other man says that if it is not too much trouble, they would like the two to help contact Mr. Luo Shi. The MC smiles, thinking that he did not expect them to arrive so quickly. Those are the important figures who were involved within the game. Qingzai remains suspicious and asks the three why they are looking for Luo Shi. He thinks that, judging by the clothes those people are wearing, all of them seem important, and maybe they are there because his friend is ranked first in the global ranking. In addition, he has no idea how much 100 years of hospital fees cost, so why they paid for him for 100 years as well, since he is not even hospitalized in that hospital. The nurse explains that those people were the ones who paid the hospital expenses. The MC thanks her for the information. However, he explains that he already knew it was them. He introduces himself, saying that he is Luo Shi. The blonde man is impressed, thinking that this was already expected from the #1 player in the world, since the MC remains calm even in the face of their aura. However, he did not imagine that Luo Shi would be so young. The MC knows that those three are all influential figures in the political and business world. The blonde man is Zhao Ming, the head of the national group of Country Y, a true holder of great power, and also a rising star in politics. The other man is Ding Yiyun, CEO of S International Group, a rising giant in the technology sector, who also maintains close cooperation with the military. And finally, Zheng Shilin, the helmswoman of X Transoceanic Group, an international giant that controls vast energy and mineral resources. She has immense influence in several countries around the world. The three say that it is an honor to meet him. Shilin emphasizes that the MC probably does not know much about them, offering to introduce them. Luo Shi says that there is no need, because he knows very well who they are and what they do. Ming is surprised to hear that. Yun thinks that this was already expected, since to be the #1 player in the world, that boy is certainly not an ordinary person. Shilin becomes a little excited, thinking that this is very good, which shows that the MC is even more interesting than she imagined. She emphasizes that if he already knows what this is about, then they should go to another place, since that place is not suitable for the conversations they are going to have. Luo Shi tells them not to worry about it and invites the three to talk in the medical office. Even thinking that it is a little strange, they agree. Shilin already feels her heart racing and, with a slight smile on her face, thinks that Luo Shi is the type of man who controls everything, a leader who never gives up control in any way. Qingzai keeps looking at his friend, thinking that he is really becoming someone incredible and can hardly believe that 10 minutes ago, he was just a poor patient who could not afford to pay the hospital expenses. Luo Shi asks Qingzai to bring the strategy guide that he had made and hand it to him, saying that he will also participate in the meeting. Qingzai wonders if he is really qualified for such a meeting and, a little embarrassed, asks if he really needs to bring that extremely detailed strategy guide. Luo Shi asks if he really did not look at it. Qingzai explains that at that moment he thought the MC was just joking, and because of that, threw that book in the trash downstairs. Luo Shi just looks at him angrily. Qingzai runs off, saying that he will get it immediately. The MC, still irritated, thinks that now it makes perfect sense that Qingzai and his mother did not manage to obtain any benefit in the beginner dungeon, and because of that, someday in the future he will punch his friend in the face twice. Shilin asks if the strategy guide that the MC mentioned is real. Luo Shi interrupts her, saying that it is indeed real. That is the ultimate strategy guide for all beginner dungeons within the game. Ming and Yi Yun question how that is possible, since the game has just been released and there is no way he could have written something as detailed and important as a guide. Shilin asks him not to make jokes like that. Luo Shi simply says that they will find out whether it is true or not when Qingzai brings the guide back. The doctor goes to the corridor, telling the nurse that the hospital director personally called him, asking him to vacate an office. However, he has no idea who those very important people are who are there. Sometime later, already inside the office, Ming looks at the detailed guide and shouts in surprise, saying that all of it is true because the dungeon that he managed to clear is recorded there. The types of monsters, weaknesses, and even hidden rules are detailed and clear there. Shilin and Yi Yun also confirm, saying that everything written there is true because they experienced exactly what is described in that guide. Qingzai asks if everything written there really is true. Luo Shi scolds his friend, saying that if he had listened, he could also have a place in the global ranking. With pain in his heart, Qingzai bursts into tears, since he lost a great opportunity. After analyzing the situation, the three apologize to the MC for the arrogance of thinking that they could propose something. They explain that initially they wanted to invite him to join their team, but now it is clear that Luo Shi's abilities far surpass their imagination, which shows that they do not have the slightest qualification to try to recruit him. The MC asks what she thinks he is. Shilin looks at the guide again, saying that he is like a prophet who predicts everything. Luoshi laughs, saying that the guide really gives that impression. In his previous life, the survivors huddled together to keep warm, writing on forums the details of the dungeons they cleared to find clear tactics. He memorized the strength and rules of all the dungeons, but never imagined that the efforts of his previous life could be used again, and, thanks to that, he has a powerful hidden card to defeat those evil gods. Luo Shi asks the three what they really want from him. They look at each other and bow, begging Luo Shi to accept being the consultant regarding everything about the game because they need his help. Ming emphasizes that the feeling of being on the verge of death that he felt last time was something terrifying. Yiyun states that with the help of the MC, it certainly will not be so bad next time. Shilin knows that they will certainly be dragged into Forbidden Day again and they do not want to be eliminated inside it. Qingzai keeps looking at his friend, wondering what choice he will make. Ming emphasizes that if the MC accepts, no matter what conditions he proposes, they will accept without questioning. The MC says that being a consultant is not impossible. Qingzai thinks that that is the pose of a MC who is about to change the game. He thinks that his friend's family has lived in poverty for so many years that the most urgent issue must be money, so his aunt will no longer need to work so hard, and with so much money, he himself will probably not need to work anymore, being able to spend without limits together with Luo Shi. The MC says that if they want help, they will need to agree to 3 conditions. Qingzai, drifting with his imagination, thinks that this was already expected from Luo Shi, 1 wish that turned into 3, which shows that he is a true master. The 3 state that it does not matter, it could be 30 conditions or 300. They will agree to all of them. He just needs to say what he wants. Qingzai thinks that this is not good, because Luo Shi asked for too little. The MC explains that the first condition is to publish the beginner dungeon strategy guide that they are holding. It can be published through media, press, or disseminated online. The methods are not restricted. Ming becomes confused, saying that that guide is a treasure that can save lives, and questions why it will be published for free. Yiyun states that the commercial value of that book is unimaginable. Shilin agrees, saying that that game is very dangerous, and no one will hesitate to pay any amount to guarantee the safety of their own life. Luo Shi asks the 3 if he is not giving something valuable to them for free. The 3 are shocked and just agree, saying that he is very benevolent. The MC explains that his inspirations are different from theirs. He does not want to save only the 3 of them, but rather as many people as he can. Therefore, if they do not agree to the first condition, they do not need to continue the conversation. Ming realizes that the MC is not pretending. Everything he said is what he truly thinks. Yiyun thinks that a person like the MC is rare in the world, completely indifferent to the enormous benefits in front of him. Shilin thinks that Luo Shi is handsome and very kind, which makes him truly a good and rare man in today's world. The 3 agree to meet the first request, saying that the guide will be published worldwide as soon as possible. The MC says that this is great, and regarding the second request, he needs them to establish the player management department and formulate management rules for these players. The objective is to control players who obtained extraordinary powers, preventing them from disturbing the original way of life of the world. They say that Luo Shi can rest assured because they currently have the same intention, since they will not allow players with great power to intimidate ordinary people. Luo Shi says that the third condition is, everyone looks at him anxiously to know what it is. Qingzai was almost having a nervous breakdown, thinking that Luo Shi must ask for money now. That must be the final wish. The MC says that he wants a house and emphasizes that it does not need to be big. He just does not want to continue living in a psychiatric hospital with his mother, since he hopes that she can have a normal life. All of them cannot believe what they heard. Luo Shi realizes that everyone fell silent and says that if it is too difficult, staying in the hospital forever is acceptable. He thinks that he is asking for things for himself, and that feeling is bad, since he does not want to seem like a beggar. The 3, afraid of losing this great opportunity, tell him not to think like that because they agree with that request 100% and will prepare a house for him immediately. Luo Shi says that it is fine and asks them not to be so agitated. They become a little embarrassed and apologize, since they lost a bit of composure. Ming thinks that that is the simplest and easiest of the 3 requests. Yiyun also thinks that that is the easiest request to build a good relationship with the MC. Shilin already begins to have attacks of jealousy, looking at the 2 companions and thinking that they must not fight with her because of Luo Shi. The MC stands up, saying that the 3 requests have already been made and that he has other things to do, so he will return to his room. He thinks that, according to his calculations, she should arrive soon. In addition, he informs the 3 that the countdown to the next debut of the game is about to begin. They become frightened and ask if he is speaking seriously. 1 second later, the system appears to everyone with a notification, congratulating all players who survived the beginner dungeon and informing that that is the priority right that they managed to obtain. The next Forbidden Day match is about to begin, and that is the countdown to the start. They have 72 hours until it begins. They are surprised to see that the notification really arrived, and apparently, the correct priority means that they can see the system even outside the game. And if they have 72 hours, it means that there are still 3 days left until the next phase. Luoqi emphasizes that after they fulfill his requests, he will write the strategy guides for all the dungeons of the second round and ask them to hurry because they only have 3 days. The three agree to the condition, but suddenly someone knocks on the door, interrupting the conversation. One of the guards opens the door, saying that he is there to report that someone wants to talk, but Yiyun interrupts the guard by shouting because he had said that no one could disturb them. Even if high-ranking authorities came, they would need to wait. Not knowing what to do, the guard explains that this woman said that she is Luoqi's girlfriend. The three are left speechless, but Qingzai has a strong reaction and jumps to attack his friend, asking if he is really betraying their friendship. Luoqi scolds Qingzai, telling him to shut up and stop saying things that can be interpreted the wrong way, in addition to stating that he is not dating anyone. Suddenly, the girl enters and greets Luoqi, saying that it has been a long time. Qingzai recognizes the girl, thinking that she had the audacity to go there. Ming questions if that girl really is the MC's girlfriend. Shilin thinks that the two even match in appearance since both are beautiful. Luoqi keeps looking at her and remembers that in the past, she humiliated him, saying that he should disappear since a lunatic had no right to like her. While hugging another man, she laughed at him, saying that the situation was very funny. At that time, many people thought that he really liked her, although he saw her only as a friend and nothing more. However, currently, she is also a player. The girl approaches and with a smile on her face says that it really has been a long time and that bouquet of flowers is for him, since she used to be so close to him. Ming and Yiyun realize that the MC's gaze shows that he does not like that girl and think that, at the right moment, they will need to help him deal with that problem. Qingzai steps in front and shouts, telling her to leave immediately, questioning what right she has to say those things, since in the past, she publicly humiliated the MC. The girl tries to smooth things over, saying that at that time she was young and very foolish, and that now she realizes how wrong she was. Luoqi emphasizes that she only looked for him after seeing the global ranking. Shilin already becomes irritated, thinking that that is exactly what happened. The girl admits that this is true, however says that even though she rejected him before, he cannot simply stand still watching her die. Qingzai asks her to stop being that disgusting person, because what she did in the past was not simply rejecting him. She humiliated him and created slander, so she needs to use the correct words when telling the story. Luoqi asks Qingzai to stop shouting because they are inside a hospital and says that they need to leave. As he was leaving the room, he makes it very clear to her that throughout his entire life, he always saw her only as a friend and never developed deep feelings. The girl refuses to believe it, asking if he is being stubborn, and says that if he helps her, they can date, but Luoqi simply ignores it and continues walking. The girl shouts that she will never let him go and tries to run toward him, but two guards step in front, blocking the door. Irritated with the situation, she throws the bouquet of flowers on the ground, telling the two to get out of the way because she is the MC's girlfriend. Ming comments that apparently Mr. Luoqi does not want to deal with her. Shilin asks the girl not to delude herself, since Luoqi did not say that she is his girlfriend. The three give the order for the guards to take the girl outside. While she's dragged out of the hospital, she tries to resist, asking them to let her go, saying that she is Luoqi's woman. Meanwhile, Qingzai walks with Luoqi through the corridor, commenting that that situation is really incredible. However, the MC was focused on something else. According to the memories of his previous life, she should already be in the infirmary. As soon as he opens the door, a beautiful woman looks back. His mother, excited, asks her son to come in quickly because Rui is there to see him. Rui explains that his mother had said that he left earlier, so she had nothing to do and decided to get some things done in advance. Luoqi smiles in relief when he sees her, saying that it has been a long time since they saw each other. Rui has the same reaction as Qingzai, asking why he thinks it has been so long since she was there last week. The MC remembers that in his past life, she was eliminated right in front of him, and in her last second of life, she begged him to continue living. The feeling of guilt mixed with longing makes him run toward her and hug her very tightly, promising himself that in that life, he will never again let another important person to him leave, even if for that, he needs to go beyond the divinities. Rui becomes shy and embarrassed by that very warm hug. The MC's mother simply smiles, seeing that there is something more there. Qingzai wonders if the two are really just friends, since that hug seems a little strange. Later at night, Luoqi was sitting on his bed next to his mother. He thinks that the hospital probably changed their room to a better one, which shows that Ming and the others really have a lot of influence. When he looks at the system, he sees that there are still 63 hours left until the next dungeon, and she should also be the same as in his previous life. After changing profession, he acquired the artifact resonance ability, and it brings a different sensation regarding everything he touches. He places his hand on the bed, and after activating the ability, it is as if he is analyzing the entire object, and then his understanding of the hospital bed becomes very profound. He can notice anything that composes the object he is touching. Even the second screw on the left leg of that hospital bed is about to come loose. However, unfortunately, there are no weapons in the hospital. Otherwise, he could try to see how far he can analyze them. While thinking about his new abilities, he hears a voice saying that he is now qualified to participate in that divine trial. He thinks that this is the same voice that frequently appears in his mind since he was born. He asks the voice who she really is, and at the same time, what the qualifications she mentioned are. The voice explains to the MC that he will know who she really is, but for now, Luo Qi can decide for himself if he wishes to submit to that divine approval. A dark energy begins to appear in the room, taking on a humanoid form. The MC thinks that that being has the power necessary to help him defeat those evil gods, and that if it is not now that he will receive help, then when will it really happen? However, since he has no other choice, he decides to go through the divine trial and says that they can begin now. That being begins to laugh, saying that this is very good and that they can begin immediately. In addition, she explains that if the MC manages to pass the test, he will be able to return to this world, otherwise he will remain in the test space forever. While being taken into the test, the MC thinks that not even he has ever seen so much sacred and mysterious power. In addition, if he can only leave by passing the trial, then the reward must be something very good. The voice warns that the test field has been constructed, and the MC is thrown into the middle of that place. When he looks to the side, he sees a mysterious palace. That being explains that the objective of the test is very simple. The MC needs to eliminate his opponent in 10 minutes. If he manages to do that, he will be approved and will be able to leave. Before disappearing, the divinity tells the MC to remember that possessing the wisdom to see through everything is the only way to win. And now is the time for the trial to begin. The oathless guardian without eyes appears in front of him. That is the strongest swordsman who can never be injured. The countdown appears, saying that he has 10 minutes to finish the test. The MC keeps staring at his opponent while thinking that that battle will be fought by the strongest player in the world against the strongest swordsman in the world, which makes all of it even more interesting. A sword appears beside him, and the voice explains that that is the weapon that was granted to him to fight the battle. Luo Qi holds the sword, thinking that he was really looking for a place where he could test his artifact resonance. However, the system notifies that that is not a real object, therefore it cannot be analyzed. He understands that apparently his ability can only perceive real objects, and that that sword is just an illusion. And if that is the case, he tells the swordsman that he would not like to waste any more time, because with a single effort he will pass that test, and shouts for his opponent to show what the true strength of the strongest swordsman is. The swordsman begins by attacking, and the MC defends, saying that that power is truly impressive. The swordsman continues attacking, and the MC realizes that even using a large sword, the movements of his opponent are fast and powerful. In the middle of the swordsman's movement, Luo Qi realizes that that is the initial movement for a finishing technique. He quickly dodges the strike and moves to the opponent's back, thinking that that finishing technique is truly powerful, but that the flaw is even greater, and the result is already decided. Luo Qi lands his strike and realizes that his opponent is also an illusion, just like his sword. Therefore, eliminating him will not cause any psychological suffering. The protagonist thinks that an illusion like that can be fatal, the strongest swordsman who could never be injured. Now he understands what that truly means. The wound the swordsman received on his neck was completely healed, which means he cannot be eliminated in that way. Luo Qi realizes that he needs to defeat his opponent in a way that does not involve physical aggression, but he has no idea how to do something like that. While he thinks about what to do, time keeps passing, and all he can manage is to dodge the attacks. He remembers what the divinity said before leaving. Possessing the wisdom to see beyond appearances is the only way to win, and that crucial hint will certainly be useful. As the swordsman attacks, the protagonist notices that there is a skeleton bound to his opponent's back. Luo Qi tries to strike the skeleton, but the swordsman blocks the attack. At that moment, the protagonist finally understands. Every warrior or swordsman possesses extraordinary loyalty, and apparently that swordsman's oath is to protect the individual on his back. After realizing his true objective, the protagonist shifts from defense to offense, thinking that now there is truly a chance of victory. Meanwhile, the divinity merely observes the battle, saying that it seems the protagonist is still not qualified to receive God's blessing, because no matter what sword technique is used, the oathless guardian without eyes can never be killed. The clock shows that there are 2 minutes and 19 seconds left. Luo Qi tears off the blindfold covering the swordsman's eyes, and the divinity, who believed defeat was certain, is left speechless. The protagonist throws his sword to the ground and asks the oathless guardian without eyes to open his eyes and look at the person he is protecting, explaining that this person has already become a skeleton. The swordsman looks back and sees only the skull. He holds the skeleton in his arms and, while crying, screams so loudly that his cry echoes throughout the entire place. With less than a minute left in the test, Luo Qi explains that the answer was hidden in the riddle itself. The guardian of the oath who cannot be killed will only collapse once he realizes that his oath has failed. Giving him a weapon to fight at the beginning was merely meant to mislead him. Luo Qi looks toward the divinity and asks if he is right. The divinity appears, saying that everything was perfect and that usually the simpler something is, the harder it is to see. But the protagonist managed to see it anyway. Because of that, the divinity says it is willing to grant him a true blessing. While accumulating an exorbitant amount of energy, the divinity declares that Luo Qi is truly worthy. The protagonist is surprised to hear that he will receive a blessing and wonders what kind of power he will obtain. The divinity says that the protagonist must undergo the true judgment. Luo Qi is confused and asks what it means and whether there will be another trial. The divinity explains that in order to accept the blessing, he must first be able to withstand the source of divine power, saying that he must now feel the environmental impact of all living beings. Pain, joy, anger, sadness. These are the prayers of billions of beings. As he begins to hear everything from everyone, he suffers a mental collapse, falling into a bottomless abyss while nearly going mad. As he endures all that pain and agony, he thinks that divine power comes from the faith of all living beings on Earth. Little by little, he adapts and realizes how incredible that power is. And if everything continues like this, he will start laughing to himself for receiving so much power. In this way, he will have the support of Earth's gods to fight against the evil gods, who are nothing more than a group of invaders. The divinity warns that the worst is yet to come, for this is the final impact and the strongest ever recorded. No human should be able to withstand it. An enormous amount of energy surrounds the protagonist's body. For a few seconds, nothing moves within that energy, and even the divinity wonders if Luo Qi has fallen. But as the energy begins to dissipate, the divinity sees the protagonist still standing, smiling, saying that it was nothing. The divinity finds this very interesting, though it was already expected of the person they chose. The divinity states that the protagonist deserves the blessing. It asks him to remember its name and explains that, beyond all this, when Luo Qi earns their recognition, the true supreme blessing will descend upon him. Luo Qi is somewhat confused by this last part and asks the divinity what its true name is and what this supreme blessing is, but the divinity simply begins to disappear. Luo Qi shouts for him to wait, saying that he still does not know his true name. Suddenly, he wakes up in the hospital bed, still not knowing the name of that divinity. The system screen suddenly appears in front of him, informing him that he received a special blessing called mental protection. He will not be affected by any mental abilities, and this is a permanent blessing because he was blessed by the Archangel Gabriel. Finally, he discovers that the name of that divinity is Gabriel, and apparently this blessing must be the one that previously appeared as unrecognized. Not being affected by any mental capabilities is very practical. However, he is still anxious to know who they are that the Archangel Gabriel mentioned, since only by conquering them will the supreme blessing descend upon him. Throughout his entire life, he heard voices in his head, which caused him to be permanently admitted to a psychiatric hospital. However, he never imagined that this mental illness that bothered him so much was actually a group of gods on Earth, which means that the power to save the entire world was hidden inside his head the whole time. Qingzai looks at his cell phone and sees the video about the dungeons, impressed, saying that there is even a video version about it. Luo Qi scolds him again, saying that this is still a hospital and he needs to stop shouting. Qingzai shows the cell phone to the MC, saying that he is very excited, and that is a simulation video of the dungeon that they made, and it turned out very realistic. The MC's mother looks at the two of them with a smile on her face, thinking that their relationship is very good. Luo Qi watches the video and sees that Ming and his team are truly very efficient. In less than 2 days, the entire internet was flooded with promotional videos of the initial dungeon. And furthermore, they already managed to establish a partnership with the official authorities to create a special operations department to manage the players. He remembers the world ranking of player contributions and the names that were below him, and perhaps the storm that he caused can make those already powerful players take off for good. Suddenly, the nurse enters the room, telling Luo Qi to go outside as quickly as possible. She explains that a convoy arrived, saying that they are there to pick him up. Qingzai gets excited upon hearing that a convoy was there to pick up his friend and looks out the window, but but as soon as he sees all the movement downstairs, he is impressed by the number of agents and cars parked there. Shilin sees Qingzai at the window and shouts for him to tell Luo Si that they are there to take him to his new residence. Qingzai, still unable to believe everything that is happening, tells the MC that those 3 people from before really formed a convoy to pick him up. Luo Si begins to stand up, saying that it is time to leave. However, he keeps thinking whether all rich people like to make such a fuss. His mother, who was still completely confused by that situation since just a few days ago, her son was only a mentally ill patient hospitalized for his entire life. And she was an ordinary person without money who worked hard her entire life to pay for her son's treatment. And now a huge number of luxurious cars and bodyguards are there to serve them. Worried about this situation, she tells her son that they cannot do anything criminal. Luo Qi asks his mother not to worry and explains that he did not commit any crime, that all of this is just because he is saving the world. The nurse starts smiling, saying that apparently he still likes to talk nonsense. His mother becomes even more confused by this explanation. However, he simply continues walking while all the bodyguards bow before him. He thinks that sooner or later his mother will know the whole truth. Shortly after, they arrive at the MC's humble and tiny house. Ming explains to him that that house is the private residence that he had been looking for a long time, surrounded by beautiful mountains and rivers, with a garden in the backyard. Therefore, all the food is organic and fresh. The property also includes 16 bodyguards and 8 nannies in 24-hour shifts. Therefore, he can assure that both the MC and his mother will feel comfortable living there. Qingzai cannot believe the amount of money those 3 people possess because to afford 16 bodyguards and 8 nannies in 24-hour shifts in an isolated house with a private garden is so expensive that it becomes impossible to imagine. Ming emphasizes that that place is part of his personal collection and there are no residences like that on the market, therefore it has no price. And what really matters is the MC liking it. Qingzai nearly goes insane, asking if that is something priceless and unique. Ming says that it is exactly that. The MC prefers to take a look at other places. Qingzai cannot understand how someone rejects a house like that. Ming emphasizes that this is a pity and apparently the MC's taste goes beyond understanding. Outside, the other 2 were waiting. Yiyun breathes in relief, saying that now he has a chance and that it is his turn to show a house. Shilin steps in, saying that now it is her turn, but Yiyun is very confident, since no hot-blooded man can refuse the house that he chose. And this time, he will certainly win the MC's favor. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.